on a plane in 6 hours and I still need to pack all of my backpacking gear. So in this video, I want to show you how I pack all of my gear for plane travel so that it arrives safely at my destination. Some of these tips are going to be really obvious, some of them are not so much, and there is one common piece of backpacking gear that you absolutely cannot bring on a plane. Take it from my experience. If you do, you could wind up here. With that, let's get to packing because I am running out of time. This is my show, gosh darn. I have laid out all my backpacking gear around me. The vast majority of my stuff is actually gonna wind up getting checked in a bag, but some things have to be carried on the plane. I will get to what goes where in just a moment, but first let's start by removing that one piece of gear that absolutely cannot come on the plane, and that is my fuel canister. This is an ISO-Pro fuel canister. It is the most common type of fuel for most stoves in the US. This cannot fly at all. No portion of this can go on a plane ever. It can't go in a checked bag. It can't go in a carry-on bag. It cannot go with you. Now, if you don't have an ISO-Pro stove, if you have a white gas stove with empty canisters that you fill, I'll talk about those in just one second. But let's talk about this a little bit more, because the one thing that I cannot stress enough is that carrying this on a plane is illegal.
Believe it or not, jail right away.
And it could get you seriously fined if you put this in your carry-on or checked bag. I told you that I have experience with this. It wasn't just one instance. I was flying with a friend who had one of these fuel canisters in her carry-on bag. The TSA agents found it, they took it away, they questioned her and detained her briefly, and then they took away her TSA pre-check. And she was briefly banned from the airline that we were flying. I also experienced with a friend who tried to check one of these, and the gate agent actually told him to put it in his carry-on bag instead. He actually made it through one flight with this in his carry-on bag. But on his next flight, the TSA agents found it and they took it away. And they told him that they could have fined him up to $250,000. That is an incredibly expensive backpacking trip. You could technically also go to jail.
They put you in jail.
Do not bring this. Are you sufficiently afraid? I mentioned quickly that if you have a white gas stove with fuel, those are different. You can actually fly with the empty white gas canisters, but just make sure you clean them super, super well. Okay, so I mentioned that I have all of my backpacking gear spread out around me. Some of this stuff is going to be carried on, like I said, but since most of it's going to be checked, let's start with that. I am using this extremely handy IKEA zipper bag to pack all of my checked backpacking gear. There's a couple of reasons for this. One of them is simply that I carry certain things that have to go in a checked bag, like my pocket knife or my trekking poles. So I just choose to check all of my backpacking gear so that it's all together. I also always put my stuff in another bag. Why this secondary bag? Why not just check my backpacking bag full of all of my stuff? The reasoning for that is that my backpacking bag has all of these straps and buckles and pieces. And your bag probably has this too. And I don't want any of these things to potentially get crushed or damaged when this bag is in transit. Just last week, I watched as a bag was going through the scanner at TSA and the strap got stuck. And I watched as the TSA agent just cut the strap in half. So by protecting the outside of my bag and all of these bits and bobs and fancy high-tech pieces that make this bag so great, I am making sure that it arrives in one piece at my destination for my trip. There are a lot of different ways in which you can pack and protect your bag. I like this simple IKEA bag, but you could also just put it in a stroller bag or wrap it in plastic wrap. Or obviously you could do something like what Rainer does back there, which is put all of his gear in a hard-sided suitcase. The idea is simply to not let your naked pack with its straps just hanging out willy-nilly go onto a plane. It needs to be protected. Alrighty, so we are gonna start by putting my backpacking bag, which is totally empty. There's nothing in the pockets. The only thing that is on this bag is my shoulder strap pocket for my water bottle and then my little phone pocket. Nothing else is in or attached to this bag. So I'm gonna start by putting this on the bottom of my checked bag. Alrighty. The next thing that I'm gonna do is actually put my sleeping bag into this bag. Shoop. I want the stuff that I'm packing into this bag to be extremely easy to access in case my bag winds up being searched. I once had a instance where I packed something in my checked bag for a backpacking trip that should not have been in there. And when I got to my destination, my bag had a big sticker on it that said that it had been searched, and my gear was just like strewn everywhere inside the suitcase. My first aid kit had been fully opened up and just like dumped out. And it was this weird situation where it took me a long time to figure out what they had even removed from my bag because everything was just such a mess. So by doing it this way, by packing my sleeping bag in here first and then putting all of my other stuff on top of this, I not only create kind of a nice little barrier to protect things in this big floofy sleeping bag, but I also make all of my gear easy to access in case my bag gets searched. So now that this is in here, let's talk about the things that have to go into this checked bag. One of those is my trekking pole. Trekking poles cannot be carried on. Even if they fit into your carry-on suitcase, you are not allowed to carry them on.
No.
There are some airlines that allow the Z poles, the folding poles, but not every airline does. And again, all of this is ultimately up to the TSA agent. So my recommendation is always check your trekking poles. I don't have the little carbide tip protector on my trekking pole. Ideally I would. If you have those still, if you've kept them, pop that on there so you don't have your trekking pole poking a hole in your bag. In my case, I'm just gonna kind of nestle it into my sleeping bag and it should be fine. The other thing that has to go in my checked bag is my pocket knife, which I keep in my first aid kit. This is my pocket knife. It is the Gerber dime. This is my third Gerber dime this year because I lost 2 of them by accidentally carrying them on or trying to carry them on and having them taken away from me.
Right to jail, right away.
So this goes into my first aid kit. This is just where I keep all of my first aid and my repair supplies. And then this goes in here as well. Now, another thing that doesn't necessarily have to go into your checked bag, but I recently learned could be an issue, is actually your trowel. I was talking to someone who told me that they had their trowel confiscated by TSA because of the serrated edges, which honestly to me seems like there was just some TSA agent with a vendetta against trowels. Like, who's gonna attack someone with a trowel?
It's so light.
Does this look like a weapon?
Yep.
Actually, it does kind of look like a weapon, doesn't it? Wow, never mind. Maybe I do understand. So, serrated edges on anything in your backpacking kit, those have to go in a checked bag. Oh, which brings me to another tip. This is my spork. This is not considered a weapon. This I can carry on, or I have many times, but I did have a plastic spork knife combo once that was taken away from me because the plastic knife had serrated edges. So it was taken away at a security checkpoint and I was heavily reprimanded
Jail.
because of the serrated edges on a plastic spork. This, however, does not go in my checked bag. I do carry this on and I will get to this and my other carry-on stuff in just a moment. But first, let's finish the stuff that goes into my checked bag. Okay, so backpacking bag in the bottom, sleeping bag on top of that to provide a cushion for all my gear, trekking pole, serrated trowel, pocket knife, all things that have to be checked. Now, like I said at the beginning, I'm gonna check the vast majority of my backpacking gear, so I'm gonna pack most of that into this bag and I'll just hold it up and tell you what it is as I'm packing it. Stove and pot, sleeping pad, in its bag so that it has an extra layer of protection and doesn't wind up getting punctured. Foam pad, tent body, tent poles, which also have to be checked. Do know someone who had their tent poles taken away.
Believe it or not, jail.
So check these. And tent stakes, also possibly a weapon, so these also have to be checked. As you can probably see, there's enough stuff with backpacking gear that like some, I don't know, random TSA agent could be like, that's a weapon, take it away from you. So this is why we check it. My cup, rain jacket, base layers and jacket, sleeping bag liner. This I ideally would have actually put into the bag with my sleeping bag, but I forgot. So we're just gonna kind of shove it down in there. All of my backpacking meals, my Canuck Sawyer bladder, my Big Sky International food bag, my pack liner for my bag, and my camp shoes. Boom. All right, that is all of my, oh, one of my water bottles. I am bringing 2 water bottles with me. I'm going to check one of them and I'm going to carry on the other empty of water. But I don't want this to just be like floating about there, empty space. So I'm gonna put my bladder into this bottle.
Your bladder goes in the bottle, and what's in the bottle will later go in your bladder.
Wow, cute. All right, so that is my bag packed full of all of the stuff that I want to be checked. Now, normally I would just kind of zip this up and be done with it, but because I have this little closed cell foam pad, I think what I'm actually gonna do is kind of lay this across my gear just to provide sort of a layer of protection on the top, the same way that I have my pack as a layer of protection from the bottom. And then that should just make sure that everything is secure in here and hopefully not of interest to anyone who is searching luggage. There we go. Now it is time to close this bag up. And this is the fun part. This is just how I'm gonna do it. I'm not telling you have to do this, okay? You can just hear the comment section already. Ta-da! Perfectly zippered bag. The reason that I'm like pushing this IKEA bag thing so much is that this thing is really lightweight. It's also really cheap. And if something does happen to it, I'm not worried about it in the same way that I might be with like a designated pack duffel. I used to actually use a pack duffel from REI, but the bag itself was rather expensive. And it was also very large. And I just wanted something simpler and smaller and lighter. So that is why we have this. If you're curious, my bag is a 46-liter bag, and all of the gear that I have in here is pretty ultralight stuff. So if you have a much larger bag, this might not fit. Do you know what the liter capacity is on it?
I know it's a 20-gallon.
20 gallons.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's roughly, I mean, it's almost 80 liters.
76 liters.
Wow. Okay, so it's a 76-liter bag. So chances are good that you can fit your stuff in here. Another thing that makes this bag so cool, you got straps on the bottom. These are actually backpack straps. So you can put your backpack in a backpack, which is great. And what IKEA has done is added these little things that secure the straps in place so that even these will hopefully not get cut by a feisty TSA agent. So very, very handy. I do truly love this bag. It's also got a grab handle on this side. And then you of course have these two big handles on the top. All right, so I have my checked bag fully packed. The last thing I'm going to do is tie this bright orange piece of paracord to the handles. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Bam, cool. So why the little orange paracord bow? By tying this orange ribbon around the handles on my bag, I have just made it very easy to identify. This little thing makes a otherwise generic bag be very easy to describe, very easily identifiable. And not only does that help from someone else accidentally picking up my bag thinking it's theirs, it also makes it easy to describe this suitcase so that if it does get lost and I need to talk to someone at the airport on the phone, I can easily say to them what the bag looks like and what the identifier is. In this case, a blue IKEA bag with an orange string tied around the handle. Just a little identifier. Okay, so now my bag is ready to go. Now let's move on to the stuff that I am carrying on the plane with me. The bag that I'm putting all of my carry-on stuff into is this. This is my personal item for the flight, meaning that this is a bag that will go under the seat in front of me. There is some of this backpacking gear that cannot go under the plane at all. Things that must be in the cabin with me. So I put those into my personal item because this is the only bag that I can guarantee is going to go onto the plane with me. If you are packing and you have another carry-on bag that's intended to go in an overhead bin, you don't want to put some of this gear in there because if you run into an issue where they run out of overhead bin space and you have to gate check that bag, this stuff is still gonna have to come out of that bag and go on the plane with you. So better to just put it into your personal item. So the first thing that absolutely must go into the cabin of the plane with you is anything that has a battery. Things like a lantern, my Garmin InReach, my headlamp, my battery pack. This stuff can be considered a fire hazard if it winds up in a checked bag or just like underneath the plane. So this has to be in my carry-on so that it comes onto the plane in the climate-controlled cabin with me. If you're ever like not sure what has a lithium battery in it, honestly, my recommendation is just anything that you are using that has a battery should come with you into the cabin of the plane. So like I am bringing my little thermometer as well into the cabin just because it does have a battery in it and I'm not 100% certain if it is a lithium battery or not. But a good rule for this is that if something is rechargeable, it probably has a lithium battery, so it should go into your personal item into the cabin of the plane with you. In my case, I have this little stuff sack, which is what I actually use to store my rechargeable stuff, my headlamp, my power pack, all of that in my backpacking bag. So this works perfectly for keeping those smaller items organized into my personal item. Lithium batteries into the bag, which includes my rechargeable lantern. The other very important thing that should absolutely go into the cabin of the plane with you is your water filter. If you have a hollow fiber or a ceramic water filter, which is most water filters that push water through them to filter it, this should not freeze. Freezing damages the water filter. And the non-climate controlled storage where most of our checked bags go is very cold, and putting this into a checked bag makes it very likely that it will freeze. So we carry it onto the plane with us so that doesn't happen. Those are the really important things that must be in this bag with me. But as you can probably see, I have other backpacking gear over here. This is stuff that I choose to carry on with me, and now I'm gonna tell you why. First thing, really obvious, my fleece. I always bring a fleece on the plane with me because it's cold, so I want to have that to stay warm. I also bring my Coola cloth. I once had an airport bathroom with no toilet paper. This was my saving grace. Also my backpacking toiletries. This is my little toiletries bag that has some medications in it. It has some hand sanitizer and some soap in it. Again, just stuff that I would not want to lose. So if I were to get to my destination and something were to have happened to my checked bag, I want to at least have my medications. So that is my toiletry bag for backpacking. That goes into here. And my spork, simply because if I buy food at the airport, I want to have a way to eat it. Then a couple of obvious things such as my sunglasses, lotion, sunscreen, chapstick, and for me personally, a packet of LMNT. If you are not familiar with LMNT electrolytes, this is my favorite electrolyte drink mix. I find them to be the most effective and the most delicious for preventing things like headaches or muscle cramping or fatigue due to dehydration. In my case, it's also just something that I use daily to help combat some of the chronic health issues that I have. So bringing this with me on the plane is vital. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but like planes make me so thirsty, but I also like don't want to have to get up and pee all the time. So by adding electrolytes to my water on the plane, I help my body retain all of that water and not have it just pass right through me, which helps me stay hydrated and not have to interrupt the person in the aisle seat to let me out to go to the bathroom. If you have not yet tried LMNT, I rave about this stuff, so you should definitely check it out. You can go to the link below, which is drinklmnt.com/Miranda Goes Outside. You place an order there, you'll get a sample pack of 8 sticks of LMNT. I've got a bunch of this in my suitcase. This is just the one stick that's going into my bag with me on the plane. Because we've mentioned it already, we have my water bottle. I'm going to fully empty this water bottle of water before I go to the airport. Actually, maybe I should do that right now. There we go. Empty water bottle. All right, a few other things here. Just stuff that I bring on the plane with me. I have my Write in the Rain journal and pen, just a little notebook. And then a new thing for me to carry on. This is actually my backpacking pillow and my pillow strap. The reason I've started carrying these on the plane with me is that I have found so many times where I really wish that I had a pillow to like lie down on, take a nap, or lean up against the side of the airplane, and I haven't. So rather than buying some like separate travel pillow, which is totally something you can do, but rather than doing that, I have been carrying this on and it's worked all right. Last but not least, because I carry a fanny pack with my backpacking bag, I also use this as something that I can easily access as I'm walking through the airport. So I'll put things like my phone, my passport, my wallet into this bag. And then when I get to the plane, I can just take this off, put it in here with all of my important personal information, and I am ready to go. All right, that is all of my backpacking gear packed and ready to go to the airport. I have my checked bag that is easy to identify and my small item that can go under the seat in front of me. Now all that's left is just to head to the airport and catch my flight. If you have any questions about how or why I packed my gear like this, or if you have any of your own tips for packing your backpacking gear for plane travel, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see the trip that I just packed for, make sure you stay tuned to my channel because I'll be sharing that adventure soon. And as always, if you liked this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you outside. Bye. And we're off. Oh, where are my shoes?